Alrighty then, I think that we're live. Let's see. Alright, we got some people with us already. Good to see you guys. Drop a message in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know how you are doing. A big welcome to our final Q&A call of 2025. So let's make it count. I've been looking forward to this one. And we're going to make it a very good one because we had a bunch of great questions that were posted beforehand in the community. And I'm very stoked to dive into all of those topics with you guys and just share a bunch of knowledge and hopefully get you guys some good takeaways here. So big welcome, everybody. Drop a message here. Big welcome in particular to everybody that is new. I know we've welcomed a whole bunch of new members, obviously, because it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that kind of stuff. So big welcome in particular to all of the new guys here. Please drop a message. Do not be shy. We love to hang out with each other here on these Q&A calls and on the mix review calls, which we're going to be doing on December 18th, if I'm not mistaken. Just looking at the calendar. Yep, I think it's December 18th. And we'll have a submission form for your mixes, like a week or so in advance, where you can submit your mixes, and then we're gonna look at your mixes, at least as many as we can take on that call on December 18th. All right, let's see. We got John here. Good to see you, John. We got Lucas here. That's a very well familiar name. Good to see you, man. Thorsten is here. I've seen your name a bunch as well. Uffe, Alessandre, of course, man, good to see you, my friend from Italy. Thorsten from Germany, heck yeah, man. All right, we got Mark here. Mississippi, USA, love it. All right, got Kimmo, of course, man, from Finland. You don't even have to tell your country anymore. You know, the regular guys. Love it. All right, we got Rem Tune here from the Philippines. Love it, man. And we got Barry from Slow in the UK. Nice, nice. Hey, we got a new one here. Ryan, big welcome, man, from NC. I think that's North Carolina. I'm pretty sure. I'm not from the USA, so I'm just guessing with all these state names, you know. But yeah, big welcome, man. Awesome. Good to see a bunch of you guys jumping in here. Love it. All right. Let's see. I'll just keep an eye on the chat because this Q&A call for the newcomers, this is a Q&A call where we kind of flip things around. Instead of you asking me questions, I'm basically going to ask you one question, a very important question, and it is simply, what's holding you back? And it can apply to anything audio. What's holding you back to getting recordings that are up to professional quality? What's holding you back from getting your editing and your mixing up to the quality that you're looking for? What is holding you back from building your business, getting clients in, breaking through the wall of amateur to professional mixes? What is holding you back? How would you answer that question right now? Drop it in the chat. Don't be afraid that there's going to be a bunch of people mocking you or something, because we're just going to kick those off the call. This is a safe environment. So yeah, I would love to help you break through and just help you with everything that is holding you back right now in terms of getting your tracking, your editing, your mixing up to speed, up to those professional levels, and your business, of course. So what's holding you back? That is my question to you. While you guys drop that in the chat, I'm going to turn my heater off. And I'm going to look at the post in the community with a bunch of very good questions that I want to dive in before. And then we're going to get to all of your guys' questions here as well, because we had a bunch of great questions. One was from Doug here. I know you can see this. That's totally cool. Doug asked, can you please go over reverbs and delays? Like what all pieces of the mix should get reverb or delays? And what types for what instruments and or scenarios? That is a great question. And so reverbs and delays, I'd say it is more delays than reverbs nowadays. Delay obvious one is lead guitars, lead vocals, that sort of thing. Anything that you kind of want to give a sense of space and ambience. My first tool is actually delays. Most of the time it's not necessarily reverb, because reverb tends to cloud the mix, you know, sometimes in a not so nice way. So I usually grab delays first. But of course, lead guitars, man, always have a little bit of a stereo delay going on there, usually with a lo-fi kind of sound to it. Same with the lead vocals. We got the pocket delay setting in the Blackshot Audio's delays plugin, specifically built for vocals. Any delay throws, of course. And let's see, then reverbs. I tend to use those more simply as like an effect, not necessarily as like a standard mixing tool, but more so like when, for example, I really want to make something super, super, super wet, that's when I go for reverbs. And it's more kind of like an effect again, but it's not necessarily a mixing tool. Like I don't even use reverb on snares that much. I tend to go for room samples over reverbs. I prefer the kind of natural sound of that. So there's that, but the snare's obviously a very common thing that people put reverb on. What you want to be looking for, though, especially when it comes to snares, is that it's very short decay time. Like a very common mixing mistake is that people have a very long decay time on their snare reverb, and it's just like ringing out too long, very unrealistically. But if you listen to any kind of modern, kind of radio-ready rock record, it's always very short and very dense. And again, that's why I prefer the room samples over the reverb. But yeah, if you want to use reverb, then I would keep the decay time very, very short, very dense, very loud as well. Other things would be clean guitars. They can usually benefit from a little bit of reverb. Geez, what else? What else is there? Bass guitar, obviously not really. That's pretty much it, man. I tend to keep my mixes fairly dry. In terms of reverb and delay usage, that is. But yeah, I would say mostly it's lead guitars, vocals, and the snare that have most of the ambience. And then again, the ambience on the snare is not even a reverb, but it's mostly a room sample. So that's pretty much it for reverbs and delays. Let's see, we got another question here from Joseph, which was a great question. He asked how to handle a band that records themselves, but the songs and the tracks are really demo sounding and they hire you for mixing. I've offered help with arrangement and recording, and I refused the "that's our sound" argument. So should I walk away or should I take a risk? How would you politely reject the job? Okay, there's a lot to dive in here. And the answer to taking those weird projects, I guess, really depends a lot on what kind of phase your business is in right now. Whether you're a beginner or like way more advanced or something, and whether you actually need a project or whether you have some projects booked anyway. All these things really matter a lot when you want to answer this question the best way possible. Because if you're just starting out and you're just trying to get your foot in the door, I would say take the project, do everything and anything that you have to do in order to make it sound great and make it sound not like a demo, but like an actual radio-ready thing. Because then it's just going to be a massive portfolio piece, right? And it's going to be a massive transformation. Band's going to be absolutely stoked, and it's just going to open more doors, hopefully. And it's just a way to get your foot in the door even more. If you're already pretty established, or you already got some like side income going on, that kind of thing, and this is more just like it feels risky because you don't really want to put this one on your portfolio, so it just feels like a kind of a waste of time. In that case, it just really depends on how busy your schedule is, how badly you kind of want to do it, almost, right? But if you got some more decent projects booked, then it's totally okay to just walk away from some things and just kind of feel as if you've graduated from that lower level of bands, right? That lower level of like demo sounding tracks. That's totally cool as well. Nobody's gonna call you out or like call you bad names or something if you just feel like, well, guys, I'm not sure this is the project I want to do. My vision is kind of different nowadays. But I can recommend so and so to take this project. He'll do a great job. Something like that. And if you still want to do it and you need the cash or whatever, right, you can still do the project and just not to use it as a portfolio thing. That's totally cool as well. I've had plenty of projects like that as well that I'm not super proud of necessarily, but they were giving me more experience. I've made some people happy, and they were actually happy, with the end result, but it's not necessarily something that I would want to do again. Totally fine. I just do the project, I take the cash, and I just do not show it on my website. I don't post about it on my socials, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a ghost project. Totally cool that way as well. So that's really up to you. All right, I see we have a whole bunch of awesome questions in the chat here, so I'm just going to go probably back and forth between the pre-posted questions, because we got a ton of great stuff to dive into there. But we also have some good questions here from you guys live, and I don't want to take up like an hour of your time just doing the pre-posted questions. So let's see, here we go. We've got, let's see, we've got Ryan here. He's asking, I feel like I have a lot of muddiness or clashing in my frequencies. I'm a bit of a noob to mixing, only have been doing it for a year. That's one of my main struggles. Obviously, a year is not very long. So definitely just give yourself way more time in order to really get those professional results. It's going to take more time than a year. So yeah, we can just be upfront and honest about that. I would say your best bet would be to really just focus all of your time that you spend on educating yourself and practicing on just making yourself more and more familiar with like what are the common frequency areas that have clashing and that have muddiness or whatever going on. Let's say, for example, you tend to boost a lot of 100 on your kick, but also on your bass. Obviously, that's going to be clashing with each other a little bit. So try to find those little culprits and try to kind of like hyper focus on these things a little bit, while simultaneously just go through the pro mixing module that we have here in the Artist Pass, where Jordan will also do a great job explaining kind of what his go-to frequencies are to boost and to cut on like a kick and a snare and a bass. And those should give you great starting points that you can use to at least, get your mix decent. And then after that, it's just going to be a matter of experience and just trying to get a feel for how far you have to push things. And I say that because, in my opinion, under-processing is actually the biggest problem when it comes to aspiring engineers and then just amateurs, intermediates, that sort of words. I kind of hate to use classes or something like that, but hopefully you know what I mean. Like people that are not necessarily professional just yet, they tend to under-process their tracks more than they over-process. So after you've learned all the frequencies and you kind of get all that stuff to a decent starting point, after that it's just becoming a matter of slowly turning things further and further and further, boosting more low end on your kick, boosting more low end on your bass, boosting more top end on the vocal. All these things, try to push those to 11 slowly but surely. And that is a very long and very enjoyable process, which you shouldn't force at all. You should really enjoy that process of constantly improving, because it is actually that constant improving that's going to give you a ton of motivation, right? As soon as you start to recognize, like, oh, I'm actually making some improvement and I see my quality go up, that's going to be massive in terms of motivation. So that is a journey that I would love to do again, because it's, like I said, it's so enjoyable, man, to just see that. So just embrace that, man. You're absolutely good to take your time with that. All right, let's do a pre-posted one here from Bryce. He's asking about vocal arrangements, and he's asking about plugins that kind of, generate harmonies and doublers, etc. He says, I haven't been able to get good results from a couple plugins. I think I'd prefer recording each take I need, but what is a general rule of thumb to get a solid ground to mix on? Main, stereo, double octaves, yada yada. And is there a good combination of plugins that could achieve the result of getting harmonies and stereo doubles from a single take? There are some options that will give you okay results. However, I'm using the word okay on purpose there, because I'd say there's no better way to get solid vocals than just to record all these takes, all these harmonies just separately, so that you have a little bit of a uniqueness in all of these single takes. And that's just, it's going to sound by far the most authentic. So I would always recommend to just do that. And then as a very rough rule of thumb, you can just use like a main lead vocal right down the center. That's like your main attention grabber. That's the one that's up front. That's the lead vocal. And you can track for a chorus or something 2 extra doubles that you pan out left and right. Those are just there to give your main vocal just kind of like a stereo width. So these are going to be the same tuning, the same timing, everything. And then below that, you're going to record left and right harmonies. Again, I love to pan those out so that you just kind of create a wall of sound with those vocals. So left and right harmonies, and then if you have an octave high, octave low, I would usually go for double tracking those as well, to at least give yourself the option to pan them out left and right. Because right now I'm working with a hardcore band, and they have decided to just record single takes of all of their harmonies, and I kind of hate it, right? Because it kind of puts me in a position where I just either have to just stack them down the center, or have them panned out left and right, which I kind of hate, because then there's a higher octave on the left and a lower octave on the right, and it's just super lopsided. I hate that stuff. So I always recommend and do it the same way myself as well, just double tracking all these harmonies, so that you at least have the option to pan them out. Gives you a ton of control. And like I said, there are some good plugins, some I don't know, there's even some AI vocal plugins coming in the market right now, which are kind of decent sometimes, where you can kind of create some stereo harmonies, or like some backing vocals, but with a different voice or whatever. That can be decent, but it's never really, authentic. The AI stuff in those things is still in early stages, where we can kind of tell that it's AI, and it's kind of fakey. So yeah, that's my answer to that, man. I would just recommend to just go the extra mile and just record all these things separately, instead of trying to find plugins, which feels like a shortcut, but it's also kind of not, so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's see. Oh, we've got Mateus here. Good to see you, man. That's been a while. We've got Nasdar here. Love it. All right, let's see. We got more people. We've got new member from Minnesota, USA, Gary Spencer, man. Big welcome. Awesome. All right. Great question here. Are there any good, accurate tutorials on room tuning / setup? And I'm assuming you talk about room treatment, right? So like tuning the room and doing all the measurement stuff, all these things. Assuming that's what you're asking about. I'm the absolute worst person to ask, because I couldn't care any less about any of that stuff. I'm very much of the mindset that the flat frequency response is the biggest lie that is going on in the audio industry. You do not need a flat frequency response and a perfect room and a perfect whatever in order to get your mixes to translate. I'll die on that hill. Feel free to fight me in the comments on that, but that's my stance. And I've been doing and living that same thing for my entire career. So I don't know, man. I just don't feel like you have to do that. What I do feel is that you have to get a room that is fairly dry, because obviously when you got a whole bunch of sound just bouncing around, that's not really going to help. And so that's been my approach to just room treatment. Just make sure it's fairly dry. So we got a whole bunch of absorbing panels in this room just to do that. And after that, I'd say it's just a matter of getting used to your sound and to your speakers. And that's all there is to it. And if there's a massive cancellation or something, yes, of course, you want to take a look at that. But I don't know. This is why I recommend mixing on speakers that don't have a ton of low end, right? So you're just really not putting yourself in a corner there. NS10s, CLA 10s, those are my main recommendation, as many of you guys know, of course. And after that, man, like I said, it's all about getting used to whatever it sounds like. Because I'd swear that even if you have a perfectly flat frequency response right now, or like tomorrow, your mixes are still not going to translate, simply because you're not used to that sound. Like nothing sounds like that. So you're going to have to spend as much time getting used to that flat frequency response as you're going to have to spend time to getting used to whatever your frequency response is right now. You might as well do that, save thousands and thousands of dollars and a whole bunch of headaches and whatever, and get the exact same translation results anyway. Again, as long as your room is fairly dry and it's not too problematic in terms of massive cancellations, which is usually a problem with bigger monitors. That's my take on it, man. Don't sweat it. Just get used to it. And I feel like a lot of people are actually using my stuff doesn't translate because my room sucks. They just hide behind that instead of just admitting that they need more skills and just need to get more used to that stuff, to their room, and to whatever problems they have in their room, right? And so yeah, man, don't be one of those people, man. Just get used to your stuff. Get used to your gear, get used to your plugins, your tools. use the same stuff over and over and over and over again. That's really how you're going to get that muscle memory going. And that's it. And right now, I'm just on NS10s and my $35 headphones. That's what I've been using all this time to mix. I don't even card test. I don't do anything, and it translates beautiful. Not because I'm so perfect or yada yada, but just because I know my room and I know my speakers. That's all. That's all that matters. So please, let go of the need of that stuff. And yeah, I don't know any tutorials, obviously. So hopefully, all right, let's do another pre-posted one. I love the discussions already today. I loved it. Love this. Let's see. We had one for Thorsten. Actually, I think he's here on the call, which is good. Thorsten asked, "I'm curious about how you approach mixing a full album." Album. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It's totally cool though. He's asking, do you usually finish one song completely and then use it as a template, or do you reference for the remaining tracks? I'd love to hear how you handle consistency across an entire record. I love this question, and I want to show you what I'm doing here rather than just talk about it. So I just pulled up an album mix in Pro Tools, which I'll show you guys right now. Right, so we're in Pro Tools in a full album mix project here. And that is the short answer to this question, right? I love to do entire records in just one big Pro Tools session for a couple of reasons. But yeah, there's basically two camps, actually. There's the people that will do what you first said. So they will just mix one song and then they create a new project and they import, the template tracks, I guess. And then the tracks for that particular song, and they just use that as a template and they go from there. That totally works as well. The reason why I haven't done that is because when I first started out and I was doing a couple EPs and albums, and I would send the entire mix to the band, they would have feedback like, or actually, sorry, I wasn't doing this yet. I wasn't mixing a full record in one project just yet, but I was actually using the other method of just having one session per song, one project per song. And then I would send like a couple songs to the band, and they would say, oh, we just want the guitars up on all songs. And so then I'd have to go back to 10 different Pro Tools projects, raise the guitars a little bit, bounce it back out. Headache. I hated doing that. And so I just decided, why don't I just throw everything into one big Pro Tools project so that when they say, can we have the guitars up? Boom, guitars up, and it's done, right? For the entire record. And I love working that way and being able to jump between different songs. So this is Face Yourself, and this one is Toxic, which I still have to import and mix, get started on that. And just kind of jump around through the record and see whatever your kind of settings, how they sound in different songs immediately without having to open and close different projects. I just love to have this overview here. However, the biggest downsides to this is obviously that you need a massive computer in order to be able to do this in the first time. Because, yeah, as you can see, there's tons of tracks here. There's a lot going on, a lot of empty stuff as well, because not every song has this stuff happening, right? So there's a lot of empty tracks. There's a lot of automation going on as well. And so it is a bit more, it's easier to get overwhelmed. Let's say that, let's put it like that. And then there's vocals down here. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of tracks and a whole bunch of empty space. And this is a 10-song record. And it's not even the craziest record I've done. So you can imagine that you have to have some organizational skills in order to pull this off. But if you can, and if your computer can pull it off as well, I actually love working this way. Just, again, to just be able to bounce around between the different songs, see what my settings kind of sound like on different songs, give myself a little bit more context, in terms of how does this actually sound as a record. And then anything that is unique for the song, I just automate that in. And yeah, that feels like a lot of work, but it really isn't as soon as you get used to that. And again, I just prefer working this way over having to open 10 different songs and 10 different projects, which might still very well work if you're kind of stuck with that. Maybe you have somewhat of an older computer or something, I don't know. Then you can probably still do that. And I mean, lots of people are doing that. And the trick is then to just do a couple songs at a time, like work on 3 songs at a time and just kind of jump back and forth between those to get your album sound dialed in. And once you have that, then you just import those settings into new projects for the rest of the song. That is basically how I approach that. All right. Now I can close this Pro Tools project so my computer doesn't hate me anymore. Here we go, because it's obviously still very rough on the CPU. All right, let's see. We've got Kevin here. He is asking, this is a good question here. Recording vocals in my home studio is tough without treatment and my mic selection currently. Thoughts on an SM7DB versus SM7B and a cloud lifter for tracking vocals through budget interface preamps. Okay, that's a great question, because I was going to ask about your interface in order to answer that correctly. But if it's a Focusrite Scarlett or something like that, you can record with an SM7B in it and just go straight in. Yes, but it's not ideal maybe, because obviously the preamps are not the best, you know, they're just kind of budget stuff. So in that case, I would go for the 7DB, because that's, I think, the version that has the built-in kind of preamp going on, right? So yeah, probably go for that one. And so if you don't have any treatment at all, no matter what you do, it's still going to sound a little bit roomy, you know, and it's just going to have some weird resonances and just reverb sound going on, and it's going to get picked up by the mic inevitably. But if you have just a curtain or something that will just kill some frequencies or whatever, make sure you hang that to the back of the vocalist. A lot of people will have, you know, a shield or something and they put it here, but this is actually the deaf side of the microphone, right? So if you put a shield here to the back of the mic, it's not gonna, your mic doesn't care because it's recording that way, right? So if you want to put treatment on, you have to put it behind the singer so that the microphone, you know, the side of the microphone that actually hears things and picks up sound is actually pointed towards that dry sounding spot there. So and that can literally be a curtain or like a mattress, anything that you can use to just make it a little bit more dry sounding. That's it. But yeah, other than that, man, if I were to record in a not ideal environment, SM7B would 100% be my pick, because if you go for a condenser, you're going to pick up way more details and way more of the ugly room sound that you're trying to not capture. So yeah, it sounds like you're on the right track there for sure with these things. All right, let's see if we have any more. Yeah, we had one more pre-posted question that I wanted to dive into. And then again, it's back to you guys live here. So the last question was by Paul, or last question of the pre-posted ones. He's asking, what is your specific advice when it comes to side chaining? There are so many things which can be done, but what are the rules you tend to follow? Does everything towards the middle of the track need more hands-on side chaining to let the kick, snare, bass and vocals through, and less severe side chaining towards the sides? New member here, looking forward to taking my skills to the next level. Awesome, great question. I love it. I do not side chain pretty much anything at all. That's the basic answer there. So sidechaining is a thing that is very common in electronic music production for, you know, the obvious kind of pumping sound and yada yada. But anything rock, metal, it is not very common unless you're talking about the over-the-top productions. Maybe a Zach Cervini will sidechain a kick against his bass. That's as far as it will pretty much go, at least in terms of getting a professional result, right? I rephrase. I was going to say I don't think it's a requirement to get professional mixes, but I will say it is not a requirement to get professional mixes. The sidechaining, I mean. What you have to create is separation, of course, which is why I use panning and equalizing and whatnot in order to boost specific sweet spots in specific sounds, right? So that you give them their own place in the mix. That's what's really going to create your separation. But I would absolutely not recommend to kind of rely on sidechaining in order to get that separation, because sidechaining is, by default, it is a compromise, right? It literally means as soon as this part comes in, I'm going to sacrifice this part and going to bring that back down, right? And that's what it is. But I would say if you just mix it well in terms of EQ and volume settings and whatnot, it's going to be, I'm going to position this instrument here and this instrument here. And now we have best of both worlds. And I would say get good at that stuff first. And if you still want to create, more pumping or have some sort of effect or whatever, then I'd say you can go to side chaining. But other than that, man, in any rock or metal mix, I'd say you really don't have to worry about it too much. And again, just focus on your EQ and volume levels. That's pretty much mixing in a nutshell. It's all EQ and it's all just fader settings. That's it. That's mixing. So, hopefully that clears things up. All right, let's go back to the chat here. Let's see. We have a few. Okay. Oh, this is a great one here by 2-4 Flinchen. I suck at pronouncing names for all the new guys. Yeah, regular members will totally confirm that. But I suck at pronouncing names, so get used to it. Great question though. In a rock mix, I feel like the bass and the guitar are not working glued together. Like the bass always feels like it's on its own thing. Is there a frequency that can help lock them in with each other? Yes, there are. Of course, without hearing your mix, I'm just gonna be guessing here, so that's the best I can do for you. But what I have noticed in a ton of mixes is that it's usually the low mid-range on bass that gets a little bit too much. Actually, let's just go back to Pro Tools if we can. Yeah, I'll have to reopen Pro Tools. So hang on a second, but I'll give you kind of like a visual thing there. So yeah, I can show you, but most of the times it's that the lower mids in bass are just a little bit too pokey. That's usually around 150 hertz. That's usually where that boominess is going to come from. And then simultaneously, you got the guitars thinned out too much. And then there's going to be a separation between those two things. So let me pull up a session real quick. And quite literally just show you on an equalizer. Hang on 1 second here. Let me just prep this session. Okay. So we have an EQ, and I'm going to show you guys. Here we go. Okay, so we have an EQ over here so that you can actually see it. So let's say this is your bass, that green bubble here, and there's too much 150, which is right, well, here pretty much. And then a lot of people tend to just high pass their guitars too high. So it's over here. And so, yeah, not that high, obviously, but yeah, just kind of give you an idea. And so the guitars are kind of sitting here in just the presence area, and then the bass is sitting right over there. And it's, yeah, there's, of course, a whole bunch of separation. Let me actually use use a bell here. Here we go. So this blue bell is kind of the frequency area that the guitars occupy, right? So a whole bunch of presence and then not too many low mids, because people usually low pass at like 100 hertz or something, because there's going to be rumble and yada, yada, yada. My answer to that is there's not. And you probably just want to boost a little bit more low mids in the guitars so that they're going to occupy pretty much that same area as your bass. And then your bass, just make sure that it's not too rich here. And that is a very common problem, that there's too much low mids. So if this is your bass and your guitars are kind of overlapping, so you don't actually want them to be too separated, which is actually the core of the problem. People are just hyper focused on separating things, whereas the best glued mixes just worry about making sure that they work together, right? So we have a decent amount of low mids in the rhythm guitars, so let's say that blue bubble again, and we have a decent amount of low mids in the bass, but not too much. That's really what's going to give you that glue. But again, if you high pass your rhythm guitars too high, they're just going to be separated, right? And there's going to be like a hole right in between them. That's why the most common issue that I see when it comes to that relationship in bass and rhythm guitars. And that's, yeah, another thing that I want to add to that is that a lot of people tend to focus their bass guitars like, oh, we just have to bring up a lot of sub-low end, right? Because that's what a bass guitar is. It's a ton of sub-low end. And so they'll have a ton of sub. and then no low mids, and then of course that clangy sound in the mid range. And that's another reason why it could be separated, where you just have to kind of move that low end up a little bit here, so that you actually have frequencies in your bass guitar that actually glue to your rhythm guitars. So those are the two main issues. Either it's too much of this and your guitars are just all the way up here, or you got too much sub low end and not enough of this, and therefore it's still separated. But either way, in most cases, it's about bringing up that low mid-range on the bass guitar, making sure that that's kind of taking up the same space as your rhythm guitars. That's going to help a lot. So I hope this makes sense, but it was a great question, so absolutely love it. Alrighty, let's see. Okay, so the question was, what is holding you back, right? What is holding you back from getting pro mixes, pro edits, pro recordings, getting your business off the ground? And then Ramtuni is answering that, what's holding me back? It's my day job, energy crashes, comparing my chapter 2 to somebody else's chapter 20 on Instagram. Oh man, I hear that. We've all been there. Cheers to you, because we can all feel your pain, man. Yeah, so totally get the day job and the energy crashes for sure. I've been in that position as well, where I've had to juggle a day job and doing mixing and kind of, try to keep everything afloat here. What really worked well for me, and it doesn't mean that it's going to work well for you, but what really worked well for me was just getting up earlier, like earlier than my day job required me to get up, and then just mix as the first thing in the morning, as the first priority in the morning. Because to me, mixing and making this my day job was absolutely my main priority in life. Everything else I couldn't care about. The world could be on fire as long as I could mix and just make that my career. That was my mindset for a couple years, and it paid off, right? Because now I'm here and I'm doing this full time. And so what, again, just worked for me is just making it a priority. First thing in the morning, I would sit down, mix for like 2 hours or something, like very early in the morning. So no disturbances from messages or people that need something from you. You can just be hyper focused on 2 hours of mixing, and you can get a full song pretty much done in those 2 hours when nobody is, just distracting or whatever. That's the first thing. The second thing is comparing your chapter 2 to somebody else's chapter 20. It is insanely hard to not do that, to stop doing that, obviously. But what I would like you to add something to that. I would like you to compare more than just your level 2 to somebody else's level 20. I would like you to compare your level 2 to your own level 1. And that's how you're going to recognize your own progress. Because, man, there's so many mix engineers out there that just absolutely crush it, and their mixes are so freaking sick. And it's, even for me, man, it's so easy to just compare my mixes and just go back to producing like, oh, geez, mine doesn't sound as good as his, and yada yada. I'm just going to go in my head. I'm not going to get anything good done that day. It just sucks. But as soon as I pull up a project from a year ago, 2 years ago, I instantly recognize my own growth again. And I'm like, oh, I'm actually just on the right track, right? Because I'm still improving. My old mix completely sucks to what I'm working on today. And that's going to be your new source, again, of motivation, right? It's so hard to recognize your progress when you're just looking forward, right? It's kind of like, I've heard this massive analogy that has worked for me ever since. It's like you're trying to run towards the horizon. That is what comparing your level 2 to somebody else's level 20 is. It's you're trying to run to the horizon. So it doesn't matter how fast you go, you're not going to get closer to the horizon because it moves away from you at the exact same speed as you move towards it. So you're not going to fill that gap. You're not going to be able to do that. But while you're running towards the horizon, you pass all these milestones, right? All these things, all these cities, all these waters, falls, all these woods, all these massive, amazing scenery, right? And so once in a while, you just have to stop running towards the horizon and just look back and see all these milestones that you have passed already. And that's how you recognize your own progress with your mixing. It's insanely hard to do that while you just keep running. Impossible, I would say. So stop, everybody. I want to challenge you. Open up a mix project from a year ago, from 2 years ago. Open it up. Cringe at yourself. And then realize, oh, this means that I've grown in those 2 years. And it's the best way to just recognize that. And the best way to just kind of stop comparing, right? Or just at least recognize your progress so that you don't have to be depressed about it. Because, if you can make progress and you can recognize that, you know that you can keep making progress. And you know that if you simply don't stop improving, you will inevitably reach that same level as the guy that you're comparing to, the chapter 20 guy. That is my TED Talk. Thanks for coming. No, seriously though, that's how you do it, man. So great question. Absolutely love it. Great question here from Barry. Love it. What is the best way or template for editing? And what should you be editing and how? Okay, cool. Before I answer that, we have the massive editing course in the Artist Pass as well. Definitely go check that out because you'll have pretty much this answer or this question answered in there. The short version, I don't think there's a real template for editing. No, I can't think of anything that you can template really. You can kind of use the same workflow and the same kind of techniques all the time. So I guess that's a template in a sense. But I can't send you like a Pro Tools project. That's like an editing template because, I don't know. I don't see that working. But what you should be editing, definitely drums. In my opinion, drums should be on the grid. I love it when it's just locked in tight and it doesn't, go too far off grid. So I just lock them to the grid. I think that's the way to go nowadays. Then guitars and bass, I don't think you have to lock those to the grid because that starts to sound very fake, very synthy, and not real human anymore. So I definitely recommend you not just snap everything to the grid when it comes to guitars and bass. However, they should be very tight. But this is the thing where I just really want to blind edit. So I'm just going to be listening. And if I can hear that they're going to go, off the grid or like they're not locked in with the drums timing-wise anymore, that's when I dive in. But if I can simply see a little bit of a, like it's a little bit off, but it sounds okay, then I'm totally cool to leave it with the guitars and the bass. Again, you just have to be very picky when it comes to tracking guitars and bass and stuff like that, timing-wise, tuning-wise. And then I usually don't edit them after the fact at all. So yeah, that's that. And then vocals, they need to be tuned. Nobody can stand out of tune vocals, so they have to be in tune. Timing-wise, there's a bit of like a range where you can get away with, I'd say. So it's like if you're working on some grungy stuff, that range is bigger, right? It doesn't have to be completely locked in. There's a little bit of room for error there. But if it's like a modern pop track, you just have to vocalize that stuff and it has to be super, super tight. So, it kind of depends on the genre a little bit. My personal preference is that things are a little bit more on the tighter side, where it's just not too much difference between, let's say, a lead vocal and the backing vocals and whatnot, timing wise, tuning wise. So yeah, I like to go pretty aggressive with the editing and the tuning and stuff, because I work on the somewhat more modern sounding stuff, I suppose. But again, if you're just working on super old school death metal or whatever, grungy stuff, or it's super garaged rock, then you can be a little bit more loose. So yeah, hopefully with those kind of pointers, you can make a decision what is best for the genre that you work in, for the most part. Alrighty, let's see. This is a good question here. Lucas, he says, finished up a massive orchestra mix recently. I had to use 3 SSL compression buses, one on the orchestra bus, one on the music bus, and another one on the main bus before your limiter. Was that a bad move? No, I don't think so. No, probably sounded fine. You're just asking this for kind of confirmation or something. But I would say, man, forget about that. As long as it sounds good, that's the main thing. Did it sound good? If yes, then no problem. If it sounded overcompressed, which is possible, let's say if you're doing 20 dB of gain reduction on all 3 of them, it's probably going to sound a little bit compressed. That's probably a bad move. But no, if it's tasteful compression, man, I don't care, dude. It's all good. I think it's fine. Again, as long as it sounds good. So, okay, let's see. Here we go. Hardcore guitar covers. Love your channel name. I watched the Silverstein mixing tutorial. I was surprised to see that the main guitars were not doubled. When would you double? I do punk and hardcore. So when you say doubling, do you mean quad tracking? Like left, right, and then again left, right, so that you got 4 layers? Because that would be quad tracking. Because I know for a fact that the Silverstein mix has good old left, right rhythm guitars, which would be my definition of double already. But if you're talking about quad tracking, I guess, so left, right, 4 tracks, then I would say I would never do that. The thing is with quad tracking and double tracking, that sort of stuff, is that, as you will see, please go through the tracking module as well and watch the video where Jordan tracks rhythm guitars. And you'll see just how freaking tedious tracking rhythm guitars is. When it comes to tuning, when it comes to timing, he's so ruthless when it comes to getting the right takes. And it takes a ton of time. I think Jordan in his prime time, and also me when I record guitars for him, man, I finished pretty much 3 songs, if we're lucky, on a day. So whenever I see somebody, oh yeah, I'm going to track an entire EP in a weekend, I'm like, okay, I can see how that's done well. But, it's like, it takes a lot of time to get those perfect takes, make sure that the timing between the left channel and the right channel is close enough, right? It's tight enough. Same with the tuning. That's so freaking crucial. That's really what's going to give you size in a mix, and what's going to give you impact when all your guitars are locked in with the kick drum, for example. On a chuggy breakdown, you want the timing of the guitars and the kick to be so very locked in so that it actually hits, right? Because when things are, that's not going to be a big impact, right? So you need those locked pretty tightly, and that's going to take a lot of time. And then you have to do double the amount of work in order to get those quad track guitars. And sound-wise, it's actually going to be a step back, in my opinion, because now you have 4 layers that all have a little bit of a timing difference and a little bit of a tuning difference. And so that's just going to add up to somewhat more of like a blurry picture. Now, I know we all know tons of examples of records and producers that will do the quad tracking stuff and that will have amazing records. And I'm not here to say that those people are wrong. I'm just saying they have spent enormous amounts of time in order to get that right. And I don't think it is worth that sacrifice personally. So I wouldn't go that route. If anything, I would go the double amp route quicker than the double tracking route. I don't know, man. It's just such a massive sacrifice for, in my opinion, a benefit that is just not worth it. So that's my view. But hopefully, you were talking about quad tracking. Yes, quad tracking. Okay, I'm just scrolling down in the chat. Good. So that's my thoughts, man. Now, of course, you do punk and hardcore, which are not necessarily known for being super, super tight in terms of timing, and there's tons of room for, kind of the rough edge and all these things. So, feel free to absolutely ignore whatever I just said there and do the punk thing, because it's punk, right? Punk guys are going to be punk, and they're going to do whatever, and that is the genre. So, all good, right? So, but yeah, that's just the thoughts, man. It's just like, if you want to do it right, you have to spend a ton of extra time in order to actually get it right, and otherwise it's going to sound more messy, less clean, less big, which is usually the goal to get, with quad tracking in the first place. I want bigger guitars, but I'd say if you want big guitars, you just want tight left and right. That's it. That's the biggest guitar sound you can get. Oh man, I love the discussions today. Absolutely love the questions here. Super, super sick. Feel free, guys. Again, just to drop more questions here. Again, this is a Q&A call where we flip things around. I'm asking you guys, what is holding you back right now from getting tight recordings, edits, great mixes, radio-ready mixes, and building your business. We haven't had too much business questions yet. So, if you have any questions about building your business, your portfolio, getting your foot in the door, breaking through to going full-time, whatever, anything. If anything is holding you back in those fields, please drop it in the chat. I would love to have some more business mindset questions as well. Would absolutely love that. All right. Oh, yeah. You guys are jumping in here. Very cool. So Alessandro was pretty much answering your guitar question already. I love it. Super sick. Awesome. All right. Big welcome, Christian here. New member. Glad to finally be on board. Big welcome, man. Glad to finally have you. Love it. Awesome. Appreciate your compliment there, man. The Torn from Oblivion stuff. Definitely a great mix here. Yes, Mark, absolutely fully right about this. As far as room treatment, if you hear a problem, try to fix that as much as possible, but don't go broke doing it. Yes, sir. 100%. You can go down crazy rabbit holes with the room treatment stuff. And again, it's just not really worth it to me because seriously, as soon as I put up more panels in this room, I'm just screwing myself because I'm changing the curve, I guess, that I'm used to. And I'm just going to have to relearn that. So it's like, you just want to use the same stuff over and over and over. And that's really how you get translation. Here we go. So there we go. Ryan, $35 headphones for mixing. Yes, dude. These are, bear with me, Sennheiser. Where was it again? There was something. HD 428. And I was actually very sad because my dad bought me these headphones when I was like 15 or so. And back then I wasn't even doing any mixing at all. I was just, listening to music on those. And as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that, but these that stuff is completely worn out. It's like there's no padding whatsoever anymore. And the little cable here, the cable is almost broken down now where it's just going to snap off, right? So I was very, very sad that I had to look for new headphones. But then I went on eBay and I found the exact same make and model headphones for $35. And I think new back in, 2005 or so, I think they went for like $60 or something. It doesn't matter what tools you have, guys. Please bear that in mind. It doesn't matter what tools you have as long as you know your tools. That is by far the most important thing. And these headphones, I learned recently, don't even have a lot of low end, even though that's exactly what I use them for, just mixing the low end. Anything else just goes on the NS10s. Because I recently also got the AirPods, because I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to find a replacement for that headphone. So I just got the AirPods just in case it broke down and I needed something to just monitor my low end. And those have a crap ton of low end compared to the Sennheiser headphones. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my headphone story. But long way of saying it doesn't matter what gear you have as long as you know your stuff. That's all that matters. All that matters. Yep. All right. Great discussions. Love it. Here's a great question from Christian. He's asking any advice for room improvements for someone who is starting recording real drums in a fairly small space. My room is 26 square meters. Okay, cool. Square meters, so 26. That will be, well, how big would that be? Like 5 by 5, and then some spare. I'd say that's big enough, man. That's good. I'd say just make it fairly dry again. That's it. That's it. Just make it fairly dry so that you can get great sounding close mics. And then I'm not sure if you will be able to get a massive room sound out of that size room. So I probably wouldn't be focused on that. I would probably just be focused on getting the best close mic sound. So in that case, I would go for a drier room. So just as much like what's the word, like absorption panel, like broadband. Here we go, broadband absorption. So just make your walls kind of absorbing and ceiling, obviously. Because yeah, again, that's just going to give you the best kind of close mic results. And then for room sounds, you can just rely on room samples. Maybe you have a little hallway or something, or like I don't know, like a piano in there where you can stuck a mic behind in order to get some room sound, something like that. Try to get some cool character mic going on. But I wouldn't probably, rely on the room to give you a great pair of stereo room mics, something like that, So yeah, aim for a little bit of a drier room, get good close mic sound, and then just recreate the room sound afterwards. Samples, bit of reverb, that sort of thing. Oh, yep, absolutely, man. We just answered this, so hopefully you've been able to capture that. If not, just catch the replay, because we did go over this question. Yes, sir. All right, let's see. Let's see if we got any more great questions here. Or more situations that are holding you back. If not, I think we still have one more pre-posted question that we can go into. All right, let's see. Pretty much once every 2 months, something like that. We actually got another mix review call coming up December 18th, where I'm just going to do, same thing as here. We're just going to jump on YouTube live here. You guys can submit mixes, and I'm going to review as much of them in a call as possible. So that's coming up December 18th. And then in January or something, we're probably going to have another Q&A call. I will come up with a cool schedule for that. Early next year, of course. All right. Yes, absolutely, Mark. This is the way to go for sure. But you can all see this in the tracking module, right? Where Jordan does the same thing, where he records the microphone and the DI at the same time. And the DI track is kind of like your visual guidance. Yes, great additional comment there. Absolutely. Disturbed did that back in the day. I think every single band does that nowadays, at least. It's the way to go, man. Absolutely. Yep. This actually makes sense. Yeah, so going back to the guitar tracking questions. My phone is going off, so it's annoying. Thorsten saying, I like working with guitar layers that often accompany an entire song part. Until now, I have always doubled these and placed them left and right over the rhythm guitars. Is that a good idea? Yes, it is. Because that is not quad tracking. If you want a quad track, then you'd have 4 layers of rhythm guitars already. And then layer 5 and 6 would be your additional part. That will be quad tracking. But no, absolutely, man. When you got a lead part, let's say you have a guitar part, I don't know, like a chorus in a song or something, where the rhythm guitars is power chords, and then you got this octave, like melody part that's going, a little bit higher, something like that. In those cases, I would absolutely double track those. So you just have left and right rhythm, and also left and right octave lead, I guess. Because, yeah, that will just give you more control again, right? Just either you decide to pan them left and right, and you can decide that when you're mixing, or you just keep them down the center if you don't have any vocals in that section or whatever. But no, absolutely, man. Yeah, don't sweat it. You can totally keep doing this for sure. Love it. Awesome. Sick. Yeah, so for you guys, some people want the discussion about the business, but for you, it's just a hobby. Love it, man. Absolutely sick. All right, let's see. This is a great question here. Nesdars. It's important today that we have www, a website for our recording studio, or is it better to make an Instagram, Facebook, anything else? Great question, actually. Both, I would say, is best, obviously, because I would say the biggest kind of hurdle, I guess, to get your business going is just getting more people familiar with the quality of your work. And that is your job, to make people familiar with the quality of your portfolio and to kind of push your portfolio in their faces as much as possible, so that people will see that you know what you're doing and that you're a great guy to hang out with and you're not some arrogant, word, bad word. That's just trying to show off on the social media platforms or whatever. But you're actually just a great hangout guy. You got the quality, you got the skills, and it's really your job to kind of showcase that and bring that into the world. And so you can't have enough places to do that. A website is going to be the most professional looking one, simply because you're going to have your portfolio there, and you're going to have, a contact form, maybe some pictures, something cool. And it's all literally just built with the purpose of building trust in mind. Because as we all know, musicians are weirdos, right? We all consider our songs to be our babies, and I get it. And so we're not going to ask any babysitter to just watch our babies, right? We want somebody that we trust, that we know, that we like. And again, it is you and my job to establish a relationship with people like that, and to get them to that point where they feel safe to trust you with their babies. I hope that's making sense. That's how I look at it. So a website is a great place to start building that trust with, obviously showing off your portfolio. Instagram and Facebook, same thing there. You just want to show off a bit of your portfolio, and you're going to use your social media channels to just engage with all these people that you would like to work with in a very fun way, in a very, memorable way, whatever makes you you. You're just going to engage with those people so that you kind of force yourself into their circles a little bit like that, right? So let's say you got a metal band, a local metal band, and they keep posting stuff online. They literally post stuff hoping that people are going to engage with their posts. So if you can be that guy, engaging with them in a very fun way, very memorable way, ask some cool questions, whatever, they're going to learn your name. They're going to learn that you are an audio engineer, right? Because you have your social media channel that is, you and your portfolio and yada yada, and they're gonna learn that you have great quality work. And so that's just a great way to start building that trust, right? And then if you engage enough, they're gonna get curious about you. They will click your profile at some point. They will click your website if all the things that they see on your website are just high quality things. They're just gonna feel much more, just warmed up to you. And that's when you can get that conversation going about working together, about babysitting their songs, right? So, okay, cool. Good. Mark is asking, or actually stating, my biggest problem has been the business side of things. Please elaborate. What is your biggest issue right now? What is the struggle? What is holding you back, right? Yeah, I think we ran out of questions, except for that one question in the group here. So again, guys, if you have more questions, more things you want to ask, what is holding you back, please do not hesitate to drop it in the chat now, and we'll still be able to take a little bit of time to answer your questions. But yeah, Mark, I would love to hear more, man. What is holding you back? What about the business side is your biggest problem? Okay, this is a good question here. Ryan is asking, I'm afraid of posting my own original music online due to the feeling that it would be stolen. How do you recommend dealing with that issue? Definitely just drop it over the official channels. So DistroKid, right, whatever, so that it actually lands on Spotify and those channels like that. I would probably prefer that over just the regular SoundCloud thing, SoundCloud playlist or something. That said, I don't think I've ever heard of music getting stolen, personally at least. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It definitely happens. But yeah, I don't know, man. Take it as a compliment. If people steal your music, that means it's great, right? But yeah, man, I would say just probably release it over official channels like Spotify and whatnot, so that you can actually claim to be the owner a little bit more than just saying that you are the owner. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I would say don't sweat it, man, because we can keep worried. We can keep being worried about all these things happening, but I think it's just going to hold you back more than getting a song stolen will hold you back. Does that make sense? So let's say you just keep posting songs left and right. People are finally catching on. You got tons of fans. People are loving it. And then one song gets stolen. Okay, that's going to hurt you a little bit. But what is most definitely gonna hurt you way more is never putting out a song at all because you're afraid that it's going to get stolen. That's your biggest thing here. So put stuff out there, man. Yep. Great. Love this. How do you get rid of imposter syndrome in productions? I know where I want to go, but sometimes the fear or imposter syndrome attacks me. I would say the same thing, man, to you, man. Not doing this is a guaranteed way that you're not going to be where you want to be, where you want to go. And, you know, I don't know, just being held back by your imposter syndrome, guaranteed, 100% guaranteed way to not reach that place where you want to go. And so you can either do this and feel like an imposter, or you don't do it at all and you'll be an imposter, right? Because you'll just rob yourself of what you know you can do already. So yeah, I don't want you to do that, man. I just want you to go out there, start doing things, start building inevitable proof that you have what it takes. And then slowly but surely that imposter syndrome will turn into confidence. But that will only happen if you actually go out there and start doing it while you suffer from imposter syndrome, while you don't feel good enough, while you struggle with that confidence right now. That's not suddenly going to go away. Confidence is not going to ring your doorbell one day like, hey, I'm here, let's go. We can finally build that music career right now. That's not going to happen. You can keep waiting. Be my guest, but it's not going to happen, right? So just go out there, just do the things. Try not to be arrogant. Try not to fake your confidence. I really hate that stuff when I see people shouting loud about, oh, I'm the best engineer, and then you never see a mix coming out of the studio. I hate that stuff. Don't be that guy, but just show up as your authentic self. Like, these are my mixes. This is the best I can do right now. And I'm going to be dead sure that my next mix is going to be even better than this one I posted today. And then I'm going to do that again tomorrow. And I'm going to do that again the day after that. And that's how you slowly but surely build enough proof that you actually have what it takes. And again, it's the only way to do it. If you're just going to sit there, wait for confidence to show up, nothing will happen, my friend. So just please get started. That's really the only thing. And man, I still feel like an imposter 95% of the time. I'll send out mixes to clients and I'll be like, uh-oh, I hope they like it. And I'll be doing Q&A calls like this. And I'll be like, really? Are they going to ask me? But I'm just a farmer boy from the Netherlands, right? It's like, what do I know? I'm not a big LA Grammy winning award producer like that, you know. I'm just a regular dude. So I can relate, but I also know that people love to have discussions like this, and they love, you know, they get breakthroughs when we have calls like this and when we do mix reviews like that. And so I can actually help people, and slowly but surely that imposter syndrome is, you know, transforming into that the more confident side, and where I can actually feel confident and feel good about, you know, helping people here. And that was a process that's taken a couple of years, right? But if I wouldn't have done any Q&A calls like this at all, I would still feel like that small farmer boy from the Netherlands, right? And I still wouldn't feel legit here. So just start and you're going to be absolutely fine, man. As long as your intention is to just continue to make records at the best of your capabilities, and you want to improve your capabilities, you're going to be absolutely golden. So please just do it. I love it. All right. Having issues being noticed, even though making some ridiculous shorts on YouTube help with it. Keep doing that, dude. People love ridiculous stuff on YouTube. So keep doing that for sure. And same as you, as the other guys, man, just keep showing up. It is not going to be like, oh, one reel will go viral and now you're famous or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's just like you have to keep doing this continuously for years maybe to just keep building that, that being noticed part. You know what I mean? So it's like your first post, 2 people notice. Your 20th post, 20 people notice. And then your 200th post, 21 people notice, right? You know what I mean? It can be a slow grind for sure, but you have to just keep walking this road. And it looks like you found something that helps. So whatever helps, do more of that. You know what I mean? So, yep. All right, here. What do you mean about Sound Better Portfolio or similar platforms? Yes, but no. It is a good place to just be present, I guess. Same as Fiverr. But I've never seen somebody like build an actual career on platforms like that, because in my opinion, it's usually like the platform where the cheapest engineer gets hired and not the best. What I recommend you do is just you make local connections, people that you can actually shake hands with, that sort of thing, and warm yourself up to those kind of people and work with those. Those are always 10 out of 10 times more willing to just pay regular money instead of the $20 a song stuff that you see on Sound Better or Fiverr. And if you have to go online, then I would just go way more direct instead of kind of putting yourself down on Sound Better and on Fiverr, just kind of hoping for people to show up. I would just go out there and just engage with them, engage with those guys, and just warm yourself up to all of those people and show them that you have the skills instead of waiting for them, that they're finally going to notice somehow. So you just have to be more proactive and just go at it. I hope that makes sense. Sound Better is just another place where, it's just kind of stagnant. There's nothing really happening. So there. Let's see. Can you give a link or two with example websites? I don't know. Social media sites that show good business. Oh, no. I have absolutely no clue, man. Social media, I'm not an expert on that at all. I just know Instagram. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can check out my website if you want to, which you can use as an example. I'll just drop it in the chat. That's my personal website with my own portfolio and stuff like that. I don't think I can share my screen real easily here, actually. But if you check out that website, you'll notice that the portfolio is right on top, which is very on purpose, because I want the portfolio to be the absolute first thing that they see. I want them to hit play on the portfolio so that, immediately they feel like the mixes are good or bad, whatever. It's totally cool. And then only after they have a sense of my work quality, then they want to learn more about me. And so that's why the bio, the contact, all these things are lower. It's not a big picture of me, and then you have to scroll, and then it's the portfolio, and then you have to scroll, and then, it's like, first up is the proof of my work, proof of my skills, portfolio first, and only then, if they like that stuff, that's when they want to learn more about you, and so that's when the bio and the contact form and yada yada all become important. Okay. Let's check this out. We got Mark here. He is saying, I spent 10 years full-time recording music. I went into a partnership for less than a year, and then I was booted out. Then I proceeded to steal my clients. I have had a hard time attracting new clients, being as my day job takes up most of my time. When I do talk to a potential client, let's see. When I do talk to people, they complain about the price. Okay, so I'm going to have to make a ton of assumptions here in terms of the situation with you and the partnership. There is the possibility that your clients may have thought of your partner as actually the guy, and you were just the sidekick. Does that make any sense? I'm not saying you were, I'm just saying that might have been the case in your client's eyes, and that's why they may have went with that guy. Or they may have thought, they kicked Mark out. That must mean that he screwed something up. It must mean Mark is not really that good. It must mean whatever. That's another possibility. Again, I'm just making tons of assumptions here. Either way, I'd say it doesn't even matter how your current or old clients saw you, because, they're just old clients. It's about attracting new clients and building a new circle right now. And if people complain about the price, that usually means that they just don't trust you enough just yet. Like they don't have enough conviction in your skills. So you may have to be way more bold with your portfolio again, with setting up your channels, your social media, whatever. those kind of things, and just really shove it in people's face, make it undeniable that you are either just as good or better than the companion that you had, the partnership that you had. And it's just about the skills. It is all about your portfolio quality. That's all that matters. That's all that's ever gonna matter. It's all about the portfolio quality and whether you, of course, are a nice hang. If you're like a douchebag or whatever, nobody's gonna want to record with you. But I think, that's not gonna be the case here. So it's all about portfolio, man, and shoving it in people's faces. I'd say you will inevitably get sometimes people complaining about the price. We all have that because there's always going to be somebody cheaper. There's always going to be somebody better. That never changes, right? And so, yeah, it's up to you how badly you want it, man. Maybe you want just a couple new portfolio projects. In that case, you can just offer like a couple projects to a very select group of people of like, hey, dude, I'm just trying to build and like upgrade my portfolio. Would you be willing to do this for X amount of money? Something like that. It has to be a great project, though, that can actually be a good portfolio piece for you. But that's something that you can use to counter the complaints about the price. You can just look at it as like, okay, so I obviously have to do some reinvesting in getting this thing off the ground again. And this could be a great way to do that. Still make a little bit of money, but still, and still get, new clients in while simultaneously building a new portfolio of higher quality tracks than your partner. Obviously, we're going to aim for that, right? And after that, and if you got a couple projects like that, you can just be like, okay, so now I've got a new circle, I've got new clients, my quality is improved, and it's gonna feel as a step back because I know you're worth the rates that you charge. I'm not even gonna ask you what you charge or ask you about the quality or whatever. I just know that you've been doing this for 10 years. You know the game. You've probably been charging, just market appropriate rates, but with a setback like that, I'd say it's about reinvesting a little bit, trying to get the ball rolling pretty much from scratch almost. And you know how to get that done, right? Because you've done that before. So yeah, just build a portfolio, couple projects, offer a lower rate, discount, and just tell them like, hey, I'm just building a new portfolio here. I would love to work with you guys. Therefore, it's a discount. So you're not even lowering your value. You're just, offering them a discount with a very specific reason. Instead of just, oh no, I'm just desperate for work and I just want you, so please take this 50% discount, yada yada. Not like that, but more like, I'm just building a brand here, love to work with you guys. Take a discount or not, totally cool. And then you'll get your foot in the door in no time, man, if you just go at it like that. Love it. All right. I am tired of talking. What about you guys? Are you tired of listening to me just yet? Let me see if I can find that last somewhat good question that we had in the community. Or actually, I may have gone all over them. Oh, no, there's one more here from Laurent. He is asking... he's working with, we'll do this as the last question. Unless you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to drop those in the chat right now. Otherwise, I am going to consider the question that I'm about to read now as the last question, and then we're going to sign off. So here we go. Laurent is asking, my question is regarding drums and MIDI drums. I'm working on MIDI drums. When working with MIDI drums, like Superior Drummer, how do you configure bleed? Do you try to reach real world with standard bleeds or just go through dry sound for main track, yada, yada, yada? Well, when I use MIDI drums, which is very often actually, I tend to just use the room mics and the overheads, like the cymbal tracks, I guess, from the MIDI drums. And then kick and snare are just going to be third-party samples, so they won't have any bleed at all. And then toms, 9 out of 10 times, they're just the Superior Drummer toms, but they, I think by default, don't have any bleed, so I'm totally cool with that. But no, the overheads will have all the bleed, just standard, so we can just treat them as like live drums. And the room tracks, of course, they're going to have all drums on there as well, because they're room tracks. That's pretty much it. Let's see, do you handle trigger only with... Okay, yeah, so yeah, I got the question right. So basically treat them as real drums, but then of course, kick and snare, since they're third-party stuff, they won't have any bleed. If I would have to use kick and snare out of Superior Drummer, I would probably disable bleed on those two, simply because that's, how I'm kind of used to working with kick and snare nowadays, because I use samples a lot in my mixes, obviously. But yeah, for overheads, let's say a hi-hat mic or a ride mic or something like that, I would still just have all the bleed fully on, no problem. And then the room mics fully on as well. Just all the bleed, all the sounds in there. No problems. And then just mix it as is. All right, cool. Let's see. We got 2 more questions. Love it. We're going to dive into those. And then we're going to call it a day. For real this time. Here's a great question as well about pricing. Is it better to charge per hour or per song? Tracking and producing. Yeah, it's a great question. I would lean towards doing it per song, because that puts you in charge of the amount of time that you're going to spend on the project. Because let's say you're tracking, producing, let's say you're charged per hour, and a band comes in and he says, I want to track 10 songs. And you're like, cool, so that's going to be like 20 days if you want to do it right. And they're going to be like, and we want to track all 10 of those in 2 days because that's our budget. That's going to be your clientele. You know what I mean? They are going to be in charge of the final result, because they are in charge of how much hours they just want to rent you for, I guess. But if you charge per song, you are in control of how much time you spend on it. You are in control of how much of like the quality level, right? Because you can just spend all the time that you need. And of course, you're not gonna shoot yourself in the foot, because you have all the techniques and the skills to even get great takes, even when the client is not really that good, and when the performance is not that good. And if not, you just check out the pro tracking module that we have in the program here, and just polish up your skills a little bit there. That's it. Yeah, always per song, man. And just regain all the control. Because, yeah, charging per hour means giving away all the control. I would hate that, so that's it. Alrighty. Good question. That are available in the course. Are there any other sources to get your hands on some tracks for practicing? I don't know, man. Probably just other memberships. There's this website called... What was it again? Oh, geez. Cambridge. There we go. There's a Cambridge website out there that has a ton of multitracks, which are of varying quality levels, though. So, yeah, it's up to you to just kind of skip through and see whatever you like there. It's all kind of meh, I'd say. But at least there's a lot available there. Cambridge. That's the only thing I really know. Let's see. Here we go. Rotten Recordings. What's up, my man? It's good to see you. Last question regarding rooms. I currently use Valhalla Room plugin. Would you recommend investing in room mics? Yes or no? Question super quick. Well, actually, it depends. Yeah, it depends on what format. I'm assuming you're talking about drum rooms, right? So it depends on what kind of room you are in. Do you have a nice sounding room that you want to capture in microphones? If it's a super tiny room and there's no real room sound anyway, then it's, of course, I would say just use the Valhalla Room plugin. If you have a decent room and it sounds nice, then yeah, you might want to capture that, and then you want to capture some room mics for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it depends on what kind of room you are working in, man. Yes, thank you, John Pierce. Absolutely. Cambridge Music Technology. That is the one. Yes. Yes, but we can have the most expensive or the cheapest room mics. If the room sucks, we're not going to capture anything good with that, right? So, yeah, drums, yes. So, yeah, I appreciate you jumping in, obviously. Really love that. But, yeah, like the question just needs a little bit more context before we can actually recommend something, right? So, anyway. Hope this helps. Guys, I love hanging out with you guys. I am going to sign off, however, though, because as you may have noticed, I am suffering from a terrible cold and a little bit of a flu, and we all know men cannot handle that stuff. And so it's 8:30, and I'm going to be in bed by 8:35, I'd say. So, again, I love the questions that we had today. Great discussions. The replay will be up in the community very, very soon, and just on the YouTube channel here. So yeah, just catch up on all the answers if you may have missed yours. Thanks again for hanging out. Once again, we have the mix review call on December 18th. We're going to have a submission form for that, like a week or so before that. So you can drop your mixes there. We're going to review mixes on the next call. I hope to see all of you there. And I wish you all the best in the meantime. And we will see each other very, very soon again. All the best to you guys. We'll see each other soon.